and they conveniently aren't using that space anymore.
And there's a bookcase upstairs.
Hey,
Well, yeah, but I don't.
it's probably worth your time to go check that out.
It could have been. I mean, I still think that I'm not really sure that there was any way that he could have known. Unless, there's one way he possibly could have figured it out. But I just want to say against his being the rat, at the time he made his statements, this was well after the fact. This was well after the diary had been published.
Decades.
Yeah, and so it was a huge deal. And it was all well known. That's when he started telling people that he was the one that ratted him out. But he was a well-known liar, and he just probably wanted to, insert himself into the story. Even though it makes him kind of the bad guy, he probably didn't care because he was a jerk. He possibly could have found out from one or more of the employees that worked there.
Oh.
Yeah, and maybe the employees figured it out. They were the guys that were, much more like. And
they would be the ones to know.
I guess it's certainly possible that they would have figured it out, but liked Otto or didn't have the guts to have that on their conscience or whatever.
They maybe didn't even know.
They kind of vaguely thought, or even you go out in the bar and you're like, that's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I think it's
weird,
haunted or something.
Weird goings on. Yeah, toilets flushing all by themselves.
Weird.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I think most people are not about to rat people out and send them off to their deaths.
Gosh, you would hope not.
You
kind of hope for the good in people, but during this time, I'm willing to.
That goes out the window for a lot of people because there's suddenly the fear and self-preservation.
Yeah, and also
overrides it.
And also, the anti-Semitism was pretty rampant in Europe at the time. It kind of still is in a way, but it's not as bad as it was, but it's still there. Well, let's move on to our next suspect, Willem van Maren.
That's a mouthful.
I know, Willem van Maren. He was hired as a warehouse manager after the Franks and Company took up residence in the annex. Apparently, the previous manager became ill and left his job.
So he wouldn't have felt the affinity for Otto that
not really.
Other employees would have.
Yeah, probably not. Doesn't make him a bad guy, but he didn't know Otto and his family.
Yeah.
But he was reportedly really curious about the rooms at the back of the building and asked a lot of strange questions. Like one time he asked, "Did a guy named Otto Frank work here at some point?"
Where would he have gotten that from?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he got it from Tanya Allers, or it might just be that he came across an old invoice that was signed by Otto Frank too. I mean, who knows? I mean, that could have been the entire genesis of the question. So it's not necessarily that suspicious. He may have at one point or another heard some noises. People get careless, especially after 2 years.
Well, and if he's the manager, there are people who take that position amazingly seriously, and everything that goes on in that place needs to be under their supervision, and they need to know. So he may have felt that he had to investigate it all.
Yeah, I know, and he did suspect that people were entering the warehouse at night, and he left these little telltales around.
Yeah, and I guess at that point you think maybe he thought it was people breaking in.
Yeah, he might have thought it was that.
Maybe that it was, or
squatters
or squatter was breaking in and they were going to take inventory. And at that point, if you're the foreman, you're the one who gets screwed if stuff goes missing.
It's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Although at the same time, the interesting thing is that he was actually stealing stuff from the warehouse himself.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I guess then he's building a case, right? He's saying, "Oh, people are breaking in. It's the weirdest thing, and things are going missing."
That's entirely possible.
Then the blame doesn't fall on him.
Yeah, and I don't know if the hiders ever. I know they came out into the offices occasionally. I don't know if they ever actually went down into the warehouse. Probably over the course of 2 years, at some point or another.
You gotta. Yeah.
I mean, if I were hiding up there, I would leave at 2 a.m. and just take a brief walk and come back. And they might have even done that. I don't know. It'd be risky, but
you gotta
do it. There are a few references to Van Maren in Anne Frank's diary, believe it or not. Apparently, the hiders were wary of him. They'd been informed about him and his questioning and all that stuff. And so
and he didn't he set traps and stuff?
Not so much traps as like he would like leave things around that would easily be knocked off if somebody walked by, like a piece of paper on the edge of a piece of furniture and that kind of thing. So he really seriously felt that somebody was getting in there, and so
I can see why that would be a cause for concern for them.
yeah, and
This
so
guy is super, super snoopy.
yeah, and so it really put the Franks and the hiders, and the helpers, I mean the hiders and the helpers, it put them in kind of a strange position, because this guy because he was so inquisitive, he was a threat. They should have fired him, but at the same time, if you fire the guy and he's all embittered, he might go to the police with what he knows.
Why you just kill him?
Yeah, I know. That might have been the thing to do. I know.
Yeah.
But
make him sit in that bathroom that you can't fly.
And the diary would have been Anne Frank, girl assassin.
Yeah.
And history would have been completely
Yeah.
It would have been so much better. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here's what Frank said about him, though. It says, quote, we wouldn't care what Mr. Van Maren thinks of the situation, or thought of the situation, except that he's known to be unreliable. He's not one to let himself be fobbed off with a flimsy excuse.
Sure. So he wasn't buying the, we just closed it off excuse, right?
Yeah, or the whole, evidence that the hiders were coming out and moving around in the rest of the building after hours. That was a theft, of course. And a worker at the warehouse, Lambert Hartog, testified that Van Maren told him 2 weeks before the raid that Jews were hiding in the building.
Suspicious.
Yeah. So it sounds like Van Maren knew. But he was questioned in the 1948 and the 1963 investigations, and he admitted that he had suspicions. He knew something was up in the annex, but he didn't tip off the Gestapo, he said.
He really didn't like him, though. The Gestapo.
Nazis? No, he wasn't pro-Nazi at all. And so, maybe he needed the money, I don't know, but he was apparently aware of Dutch resistance activity in his neighborhood and didn't tip anybody off about that stuff either. So he wasn't pro-Nazi or pro-German or anything.
I'm inclined to think errant word to the wrong person.
There's possibly
at this time, you.
Yeah, if he's like thinking like talking to Tanya Allers and says, hey, there's hinky stuff going on here.
Or
Tony,
even talking to like a coworker out at the bar that somebody happens to be at. That you think you're safe, you think nobody's listening, and you say, it's weird. Curtains are getting left open. My traps are getting.
Why they made the poster, slip, sink ships. Because just saying the simplest thing, the right set of ears, puts it together.
Absolutely.
And the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, so it's possible. I tend to think that he's innocent. And Meade Geese for her, let me say that right, Meade Geese, that's better, said in 1997 in an interview that she didn't think Van Maren was the informant. And I think Otto Frank said so too.
I don't know. The thing I keep struggling with is, like Steve said, with the segregation doesn't make sense to me. The fact that somebody could, in good conscience, not feel awful about themselves in telling people these people are someplace and they're off to like almost certain death, that's insane to me. Getting in that mindset is insane to me, and unless you are kind of a liar, a braggart, or a brown-noser, or pro-Nazi, I can't imagine anybody who wasn't avidly pro-Nazi
deliberately
turning people in.
No, unless, maybe you're a sociopath and you're not, you don't really care one way or the other about the Nazis, but you're a sociopath and it's 40 guilders ahead, so hey, why not?
But the thing is, Joe and I talked about this story a couple of days ago, and the thing that I was bringing up is, because he was basically saying the same thing, and I was talking about the fact that, there's these people that we, like, the collaborators. People hate the collaborators who helped the Nazis do what they did, but didn't necessarily support them. A lot of those people did what they did out of fear and just this thought that this is my only way to survive. These people are gonna win, and I can either go ahead and die, or I can survive. And so it could be one of those situations where somebody felt required to say something. I don't have a choice here. If I don't say something and they find out I know, they're going to kill both of us.
Yeah, I know. There was a lot of collaboration going on in World War II.
Absolutely.
I mean, like the famous French resistance, it turns out everybody was in the French resistance. Not really. Not at all. Yeah, same with the resistance in with the Dutch.
Yeah.
But luckily there were still plenty of people, like our 6 helpers, for example.
Yeah.
were some good people around.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
there were plenty of good people, but there were plenty of rats. Okay, our next suspect, Martin Sleegers, who was the night watchman at the business. Although he wasn't actually on premises, he
was like the active one, or
he was responsible for a number of properties. So he bicycled around the canals, just checking on various properties. And he noticed in April 1944 that the building had been burgled. Apparently the door was open or something, so he called in a policeman, and they went through the building looking for ne'er-do-wells. Didn't find any, and got as far as the bookcase, but didn't discover the annex.
I heard the policeman fiddled.
That's why I heard
with
that
the
too.
bookcase.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly that was about. I mean, obviously he didn't fiddle with it enough to move it out aside and see that there was a door behind it.
I get the impression that the bookcase wasn't flush against the wall. If you look at the pictures of it from the Anne Frank house, and I've seen pictures of it open, and unfortunately the pictures I've seen where it's closed, they're straight on. But I get the impression that there was a bit of a recess between the door and the bookcase itself, and somebody may have figured it out. Yeah.
I'm 99% sure that the pictures you were looking at were all recreations, because I don't think there's any pictures of the original one.
Oh, okay. See, and these are things that were from the Anne Frank house, so I don't know. They may very well. Oh, okay. See, that's great to know, because I presumed, like an idiot, that the Anne Frank house would have actual pictures.
Yeah, it kind of seems like the sort of thing you wouldn't take pictures of. If you had this bookcase that was covering something, you wouldn't be like, and this is our bookcase. It's not suspicious at all, but we have pictures of it anyway.
Well, I just meant years, after Otto got home, this somehow...
I think they destroyed it.
Oh, okay.
That was my impression.
They destroyed the
Gestapo
bookcase?
came in, that it was just like, that bookcase was not going back up.
Okay.
hey.
Okay, then never mind. That's why
But yeah, I don't know
fiddled
why.
with it.
I don't know what the fiddling with it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that entails. It's kind of vague.
Yeah, and I
Probably
think I read...
a guy going, this bookcase sucks, none of the books come off of it?
yeah.
They're all glued here for some reason.
They're all hollow made of cardboard. Yeah.
I think I read something that said that they had fiddled with it and moved it a bit, but that everyone was really confident that the police officers hadn't reported them.
Yeah.
But I'm inclined. I don't know. I want to believe that everybody knew that the Franks were back there, and everybody said, but let's keep them back there.
Yeah.
That in my brain,
keep our
that's the
mouths
best
shut.
of the stories.
Well, yeah, I think that there were probably after more than 2 years, there's probably a lot, and everybody but one person kept their mouths shut.
Yeah, and I really can't imagine a situation in which somebody would say, oh yeah, Otto used to own that building, and there's that annex they don't use back there anymore.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen the Franks in 2 years,
That'd
but
be handy for stores of Jews.
that's not suspicious at all. I can't imagine a single person who knew that situation not thinking they were back there.
Oh yeah.
But hopefully everybody just kept their mouth shut.
I think a lot of people did. And actually, I forgot to mention that when they left their apartment, they left behind some papers and things like that kind of give people the impression that they had gone to Switzerland.
I heard they left it in
Fled in the night.
disarray as well.
They left it in disarray.
So it kind of looks like they had just left really
They
suddenly.
just left in a hurry,
so that
started-
whenever the house was searched,
it
would look like...
people think, oh, they fled to Switzerland. Okay, anyway, let's go back to our night watchman, Martin Sleegers.
Oh, yeah.
There's really nothing against him to speak of. I mean, he was just doing his job. He called the police, and they went through the place. And so I would say that even though he's been named as a suspect by a few places, he's pretty weak suspect.
Yeah. You name him as a suspect because he might have maybe known about it.
Maybe. All right.
Waiting on you, sir.
All right. Okay, our next suspect, Nellie Vushkal. Nellie Vushkal was the sister of Bep Vushkal. And just this year, a book, like April 2015, a book by Bep Vushkal's son and a Flemish journalist, claimed that Bep's sister, Nellie Vushkal, might have been the rat. The basis of this claim is that she was a Nazi collaborator for 4 years, and they base this mostly on testimony from Bep's other sister, Diney. Do you think Diney?
Yeah.
Did he? I don't know.
Tiny.
And also a guy who was Bep's fiance at that time.
Burtis?
Yeah, Burtis. Yeah, Burtis. She reportedly, this is Nellie once again, the sister of Bep. Reportedly, she once said to Bep and Johannes Voskal, Go then, go to your Jews. Even though they hadn't told her, somehow she seemed to have found out about it. So,
Well, I
So
guess
she had a suspicion of some kind.
it seems Beth was the one who's doing all of the grocery shopping, right?
it was
or
mostly
no,
Meep.
it's
It was
Meep.
Meep. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I was gonna say, if somebody's coming home with a bunch of groceries from a bunch of different places, and then you're not eating any of them, and they're disappearing anyways, the evidence is pretty stark. But if it wasn't Beth, then
Well, I was going to say, though, is that in the defense of this Nellie, right?
Yeah.
I'm pronouncing that correctly?
I don't
I
know.
think so.
As
think
as
so.
we're pronouncing it? Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm the great mispronouncer, angerer of the internet, just making sure.
Yeah, no, it's probably it's in Dutch, so it's probably Niwi.
But no, the point
Yeah.
is, my point is that they may have been in private outspoken critics of the Nazi rhetoric and against Jews. They may have said, this is so dumb. Why are we doing this? And being PO'd at him, just said, fine, go do that. Be with your people that you want to save.
Yeah, it could
You
have
know,
been.
it's, parents yell this at kids. Fine, go to the rainforest and save the squirrels or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it could have been just saying, "Hey,
Something
Jew
is
lover."
not.
Yeah.
It's innocuous at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, the case against Nellie is pretty thin. Again, the helpers had good reason to keep their mouths shut about this.
Yeah.
Big time good reasons. Yeah.
The helpers got off real easy compared to what could have happened to them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And so.
Because I think I could be making this up, but I'm pretty sure that helpers were treated. As soon as you were a Jew sympathizer, you were as good as a Jew.
Well, yeah, not quite that bad.
Pretty
I mean,
close,
when these guys got caught, their punishment was not nearly as harsh.
These guys, but I think that was the kind
But
of.
they could have been executed.
Yeah.
You know, they really could have been executed or sent off to one of the big camps,
Right.
Auschwitz or somewhere like
Yeah,
that.
and that's
you know.
exactly what I
Which,
mean. It's
for
a
the lesson of
Yeah.
history of the two choices, execution was the better.
better.
Yeah,
Way
really.
better.
Yeah.
Way easier.
Otherwise, yeah, it's quicker. Yeah. Otherwise, you go off and you either are starved and worked to death, or you die of disease like Anne Frank did. And her
Or you're
sister.
experimented on. And
Or you're experimented on. Yeah,
That's
there's
even
that
worse
too.
somehow.
Yeah.
Become Magneto.
Well, let's move on to another suspect here. Lena Hartog, also known as Lena Hartog van... it's probably Lena Hartog, but Lena Hartog van Blatteren. I'm probably mispronouncing that too.
Fine.
Yeah, she was the wife of that warehouse worker I was talking about, Lambert Hartog. Yeah. So he was the one that was told by Van Maren that there were Jews in the building. She also worked in the building as a cleaner, and so undoubtedly her husband told her what he had heard. And she was named as a suspect in a biography of Anne Frank written by Melissa Mueller when published in 1998. And according to testimony in 1948, in the 1948 investigation, Anna Gano, who was somebody who Lena also worked for, she didn't just clean the spaces at Otto Frank's building, she cleaned other places too.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was her employer, and Anna was Lena's employer, and Lena said that she was worried about her husband's safety because he worked in a building where Jews were being hidden. So it appears that Lena and her husband both knew about the Franks.
But this goes in line with what Devin was talking about earlier, where everybody's like, oh, there's nobody in that building, but we all really know.
Yeah.
Like that's how I take that.
Yeah, I know. I think that.
I guess I can see her going and in attempt to protect her husband from being accused as a sympathizer.
Oh, going to the authorities?
And reporting and saying, my husband and I couldn't possibly be involved in this thing. There are Jews living up there. We told you, so
Yeah.
it's not our fault.
We just found out.
Yeah, but on the other side of the ledger, though, if she was so concerned about her husband, then why was he there on the day of the raid? Because he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But I don't believe it for a second, but I don't know, I'm playing devil's advocate.
yeah.
I'm going back and forth here.
She's a weak candidate. On the other hand, I can't remember which one it was. One of the helpers that was at the office that day said that when the police showed up, he already had his coat on. He was out the door. Yeah.
Like he had spotted the cops or knew the cops were coming at a certain time.
Yeah, it's like, oop, I'm out of here. So, I don't know. It just seems like a bad idea because the problem, from his point of view, if he and his wife were actually thinking about ratting on the Franks and company, is that the most of the people that you work for are going to get carted off to the camps.
Yeah.
And most likely.
Not a great business model.
Yeah, and so by doing what you're doing, you're kind of guaranteeing the closure of the business that pays your salary. And so he actually had a financial incentive to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
I think. Don't you think? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking both Lena and her husband are probably not suspects. As far as